My favorite tour was probably the Canada tour because it was the first one, the first big tour that I actually got to go on, and just the rep that we sang, the Ave Maria we sang in this church and in Columbus, it just sounded amazing.
My favorite was probably Canada, just because it was the one where we got to go the farthest and do the most, I feel.
My favorite tour was definitely the Colorado tour.
Well, I was staying with Camper Bucky and Kevin Jacobson, and we were in Canada. We were at this house. She said she could house 6 people, but only 3 of us ended up going, so I was thinking it was going to be a nice house. No, we drive past all the nice houses to this busted-ass trailer that's probably the size of my dorm room.
In Canada, in, where did we go? Niagara Falls, whatever town that is. I don't know if it's Niagara, wherever. I think we were on the Canada side, and there's 6 or 7 of us, I guess, that we took this ridiculous walking trip to some bar called Jack's Cantina, which was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I don't even remember how far it was. It was probably like a 4-mile walk. I mean, it was Canada. It was freezing. But by the time we finally got there, we were definitely ready for a drink. So we sat down and we, look across the bar, and there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 women's chorale girls that were randomly there on vacation. And also that same night, I think, was the first night that Jordan Young got wasted.
I got wobbly, very wobbly for the very first time, and had trouble going to the bathroom, had trouble walking around. And anyways, we walked back to our hotel, and I had been rooming with Zach Walker, Kevin Jacobson, and Lamar Hilton. And I remember laying down in the bed on the verge of passing out, and I remember looking over at Lamar Hilton right before I dozed off on the pillow and basically just zonked out. I remember saying, I just have 2 things to tell you right now. 1, I love you. 2, your head is going like this right now. And then I conked out.
We got to sing at the University of Wyoming, where Dr. Zook's daughter teaches, and they have actually gone to form a men's chorus based on the Singing Men of Ohio.
After he tell us there's nothing to see in Canada, we're like, okay, we're going to sneak out of the house. So we proceed to sneak out of the house, and we're saying we're going to take a walk, but we had the keys to the van because we took an extra van that year. And we're rolling out of the driveway, put it in neutral, don't turn the lights on. Rolling out of the driveway, Camper Bucky's in the driver's seat. We hit this hump in the driveway. Next thing I know, Camper Bucky hit the horn.
Chris Moran, God love him. Sophomore year, Canada tour, we went to Hooters for lunch, and we're sitting there. He orders a chicken sandwich. Okay, chicken sandwich at Hooters, whatever. So we're eating and laughing and telling jokes and having a good time. And then it gets really quiet, and we all turn and look at Chris Moran. And Chris Moran just has this really scared, confused look on his face. And then he holds up his tooth we're like, oh my God, he lost his tooth. So we're freaking out, expecting blood to gush out of his mouth. And he's freaking out. But then it was a fake tooth because he got it put in after he fell and broke his real tooth when he was little. And so then we had to take him to this crusty dentist who probably had dull needles and rusty tools and God knows what. And he had to pay $300 to get it fixed. And oh my gosh, we made fun of him every second we could about losing his tooth on a chicken sandwich at Hooters.
My favorite memory of a professor would have to be freshman year, Dr. Raymond Feener.
The fall concert my freshman year was pretty funny. Dr. Feener, it was Mr. Feener at that time, but Dr. Feener threw his back out earlier that day before dress rehearsal, and he showed up. The painkillers that they gave him, I'm guessing he had kind of a weak system or something, I don't know, but he was as loopy as could be. He was showing up, he kept making all of these really weird noises, and he could barely move on the podium. He was standing up there trying to conduct us, and then in the concert he's standing up there, and every time he gives a downbeat, he just acts like he's in the worst pain, but as soon as he turns around to the audience, he's all show, all performing.
We were on a kind of a hillside, and he walked up the side of the hill, and he kind of looked around, and then he faked, unzipped his pants and started going to the bathroom. And I just remember thinking to myself that was, that was just, that moment was the epitome of Dr. Feener. He was just always, he was always one of us, and he's always trying to make us laugh and trying to get in on the action.
Dr. Feener, he was an amazing person and incorporated all of the things of SMO and just really just blood, sweat, and tears, everything for SMO. And it's funny that it only took me, because I was only in it for that one quarter that he was still here, and then he left after that. But only being in one quarter, he got me hooked onto SMO and just his personality and just how much he cared for SMO and all the traditions that he had within himself and all the stories of Dr. Zook and all the friendship with Harlan and all the past experiences from tour. He really got me hooked into SMO and I was only in it for 10 weeks, but I wanted to do it every year after that, and I loved it because of him.
When I came in, Dr. Feener was different than the other directors of SMO. He was very much about the music and about how you felt about the music, and I just remember always feeling connected with everything we did because he was so connected to what we did. And so one of my favorite things was the concert we did for Hurricane Katrina and all the speaking he did for that and how we gave them the donation. It just made me feel good.
I guess I just look on Dr. Feener with a lot of fondness, especially since he's been gone for a couple years now. It's been really interesting to see the difference between him and other people. Of course, I mean, he was SMO. He was there when the group started as the men's glee club again in '89. He was the first president of the group. He created Section 8. But he came in, the man was a force of nature. I can't tell you how amazing it was to go to class 3 days a week and have someone who lived, breathed, and bled this group standing in front of you. It was just, and we took it for granted until he left. And then we kind of saw what we had. But he was incredible. He always said his goal for SMO was total world domination, and you absolutely believed it. You knew that he had nothing less in mind for this group because he knew that's what we were capable of. And I still believe that for this group. I think that we can attain anything we want to do. It just takes the guys stepping up and doing it.
Most fond memory of a professor would probably have to be Dr. Feener, our freshman year on tour, him running after the bus because the bus driver showed up an hour and 35 minutes late from picking us up and couldn't find us, and we saw the bus driver drive past, and I see Dr. Feener running, and then old ass Grubb and Kyle Barger running, and Dr. Feener beating them.
Professor Caracciolo, when we were in Canada, I think. Somewhere we found a Hooters, and we took Caracciolo to Hooters, and he was like, I don't know, kid in a candy shop, I guess you could say.
With Professor Caracciolo, he was an intense man, as we all know. I just enjoyed working with him and the respect that he gave us as group members. He treated us as equals, and I liked that.
A funny story of a SMO director, I think, would have to be with Professor Caracciolo. Everybody knows the story, but while on tour, he did his own no SMO, and he was asked what was the craziest thing that he ever did in college. And I'm not sure why, but I'm also not surprised because it's Professor Caracciolo that his answer was that his wife's goldfish died, and so he wrote it a eulogy and gave it a funeral. Like, to me, I'm not sure how you come up with that story unless you make it up or unless you're Professor Caracciolo.
With Dr. J, the same way, he focused a lot on the musicality of the group and our sound as a whole, and did a lot for the group this year, I think.